Hi, I'm Elizabeth Duncan-Hawker, and I wanted to share with you a couple things about the effect of loneliness. If you aren't familiar with Cigna Health study in 2018, they actually did a review, and the research showed that the majority of the people, in fact, I've got the report right here, 47% of people in America said that at one time in their life or not, they felt left out. Being lonely is not that you want to stay on the couch and be curled up and eat your bag of chips and be left alone. That's very, very different. Feeling left out is when you feel disconnected. And when you feel disconnected from people in your world, what happens is that the physical stress is equivalent to, you ready? To having 15 cigarettes smoked a day on your body. So why is all this important? Why am I bringing this to your attention? Because now that we're coming out of the pandemic, we need to realize that the ability to connect with one another is even more vital than it has ever been before. Oh my goodness, it is so important. And what do I mean by connecting with one another? So if you're in business, do you have allies? Do you have coworkers that like you? If you're a leader, do you have staff that you retain? Are they staying for long periods of time, or are you driving them away because you've failed to see them and connect in ways that they say, oh, I really enjoy being here, right? Because we've all heard of the Great Resignation. So these all relate back to one simple thing: communication skills. And I know we don't like to hear about that because you were like, oh my gosh, Elizabeth, it's like communicating. What does that have to do with anything? Of course, I know, I love it when people tell me, Elizabeth, I don't need that training because I know how to, get this, to talk to people. I know how to talk to people. When you hear someone say, I know how to talk to people, that's your first clue, because we talk with people. We don't talk to them. So that's your first clue if you're ever interviewing anybody and then they go, yeah, well, this is going to require some interrelationship, interpersonal skills, okay? Those used to be called, what we used to say, soft skills. But guess what? They're not soft skills. These are necessary skills, particularly right now, that we teach the next generations that are coming out, because the younger ones, the Gen Zs, they're suffering right now because they are feeling disconnected. They've grown up with technology. The millennials have gone into the workforces. They're having families now. But there's this huge feeling of like, okay, we're in the workplace. If they've come back, many businesses are still remote. But they've come back, but do the people remember them? Do they give them the sense that they have missed working with them? So, and I know we've talked a lot about business here. So what can you do to make sure that you're memorable in a great way? And notice I said in a great way, because I have worked with enough people. Oh, they were memorable. Oh, yes, yes, yes. But we want to be memorable in a great way. We want to be the person that they say, I know her. I know him. Yes, not I know him. Oh, yes, I know her, right? Because that just tells it right there. So that was the little secret tip I gave you about body language. Did you catch the difference in my tone and inflection? Did you catch the difference in my persona? That right tells you same words, completely different message. So that helps with connecting, being able to read somebody, paying attention to them. That's why it's so important. And another study showed us that with your body language accounts to 55%. I think that's a low number, but they said 55% of your ability to connect is related to reading the body language. They said 38% is related to your voice. So that leaves us with only 7% is the actual words that you say. So back to communications, connecting with others, building allies in the office, and maybe even if you're lucky, you're going to build amazing potential friends. And I am the author of Collecting True Friends. And I've got to tell you, my research shows that the majority of the people as you age, you're going to actually find friends in the workplace. The people that you're going to stay connected with are going to come either through church, your neighbors, through work offices. They're all going to be people you've bumped into over the last decades. Because statistics are showing us that as we age, it gets harder and harder for us to maintain friendships. Usually they phase out. Sometimes they're just situational friends. I'm sure if any of y'all are parents out there, you had soccer families. Maybe you all did activities with the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, soccer families, right? So when you have that, those are what's called situational friendships. Those phase out. That's the same way with you when you leave your work environment. If you do a job transition, if you do a relocation, if you're in the military, right? So statistics show us that as we age, that it's really important to continue to bring in more people into our sphere, our social network, okay, as well as our business network. But why? Because as we age, the chances that those people are going to continue to be your friends and stay your friends is going to diminish. And the chance that they're going to stay true friends with you gets even more reduced. So that's why it's important. If you're in your 30s, you need to be thinking right now, where do I want to be with friendships and business allies when I'm 45? If you're in your 40s, where do I want to be by the time I'm in my 50s? If you're at retirement age and you're thinking about that, what you want to make sure is that you don't reach retirement age and you've been so busy on your career that all of a sudden you forgot to keep and maintain good quality friendships around the years. So that's why it's super important that you pay attention to that. And the way that you're going to get to do that, grab one of my books here. The way that you're going to do that is understanding how friendships work. So Collecting True Friends is the book that I wrote. And the interesting part of this is it says, be a magnet to those worthy of your time and devotion. So when we look at who we want to show up with and how we want to connect more, it's really super important that we understand that it's the way we communicate. So remember when I first said connecting? Okay, so here's the thing about connecting. There's some simple rules you can immediately do, and I hope you start using them. You're going to laugh when I tell you the first rule. Most people do. First thing I'm going to tell you, fix your face. And I don't mean fix your makeup, make sure you're well groomed. That always helps, so please do that too. But the first thing I'm going to tell you is look at yourself, catch your reflection as you're walking through like a lobby. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look at a video that was done of you and take a picture and see how your resting face appears. If your resting face is like this, then I got news for you. You're scaring people away. So the first thing is look approachable. Got it? So check yourself, as my Southern friends would say, before you wreck yourself, because a lot of people aren't even going to come near you in business. They're not going to pick you to be part of the team. They're not going to say, I want this person to be on my project. They're certainly not going to think about you for a promotion. And if you want to be on a social level with somebody, they're certainly not going to say, hey, we're having a barbecue this weekend, or would you like to go out and go get a drink after work? Some of us are going out. They're not going to ask you that because you're going to look like you don't want to participate in anything. So first rule is look approachable. A little bit harder than you think it is if you haven't been working on it. Second thing is I want you to do is listen with intent. So listen to the conversations. Even if you're the observer in it, listen for clues. Did they mention something that you like to do too? Were they talking about fishing? Well, then maybe you can pull in your reservoir of you were fishing as a kid and you lived by a lake with your grandfather for the summers and your favorite fish was a perch. There might be something in there. They may talk about golfing, they may talk about a project. Maybe it was a type of project you've always wanted to lead and you thought, oh, this is going to be incredible. Maybe they lived in a location that you're fascinated with. Wow, you heard that they had the best kind of this in that region. Is that true? So there's so many things, but you have to listen with intent to pull out some of those golden nuggets on what is the thing that makes this person so memorable. Because when you do, and the next time you get an opportunity to talk to that person and you say, you know, you mentioned that you lived in Spain when you were young. I've always wanted to go to Valencia. Could you tell me a little bit about what you remember there, or what was your favorite things, or have you gone back since then? That person is going to be pulled back and just be amazed that you even remembered that, or of the type of fish you wanted to do, you know, cook up and prepare a recipe for, and that they go on the weekends and they get. So second thing was listen with intent. First thing was what? look approachable, okay? So the next thing I want you to do is, we talked a little bit about this, and I want you to find those details to remember, because it's different than just listening, because I want you to actually remember the details. I want you to take them and relate it back to something so that you're armed when the conversation opportunity presents yourself, that you can do the connection. And it may be just get over a cup of coffee. Maybe if you're working in the office, you be at the water cooler, or maybe you're at Starbucks, or you're down in the building, or maybe you're on the phone with your client or a customer, right? But the opportunity will come up. So what I like to do is, in my phone, underneath that contact, I actually put a note in there. Has German Shepherds and loves hiking, and last trip went to Paris, and been married for a long time. So I like to put notes in there, because that helps me then remember certain things in conversation. So the third rule was, I want you to find the details to remember. That's a little bit bigger than listening with intent, okay? Because the listen with intent was about, what are you going to do with the information? So the fourth thing I want you to think about, follow up to follow through. I know it sounds simple. You would be so surprised how many people, and I want you to think about this right now, how many people have you run into, and that by chance, maybe since the pandemic's happened, people are coming back out in society or in business, or they've called you, or you've seen somewhere, and you're like, oh my gosh, it was so great to see you again, or hear what's going on. And did you follow up with them? Before they left, did you confirm that you had their phone number? So I just saw a contact of mine that's a family friend. Haven't seen her in, gosh, sadly to say, it was pre-pandemic. And I'm texting her while we're in the bank, because we're both getting taken care of. And I'm texting her going, is this still your phone number? So when we finished, we came out, and she goes, oh my gosh, it is, and thank you, and your phone number came up. So before you leave somebody, did you follow up with them to make sure you have information to follow through? Because that's one of the biggest things you're going to find out, is that most people wanted to get to see you more, but maybe you didn't actually tell them you wanted to see them anymore. So instead, you just said, oh, well, I can't believe I saw you. Well, that was cool. Well, okay, take care. Well, what are they thinking? They're thinking you don't ever want to see them again. So if you want to have superhero skills, and that's what I call these for communication, you need to be the person that remembers the details. You do the follow-up, even if it's just a text that sends a note back and goes, it was so great to see you today. Oh my goodness, here's my information. Or as I promised you, here's that contact I said I would share. And if there's anything I can do to help you, reach back out. Most of the time they're not going to, but most of the time they're going to say, you know what, I'd love to see you too. And then that's when you're going to say, well, you know what, how about let's get something on the calendar right now? How's 2 Tuesdays from now, let's meet at, or I'm going to this event, I think this would be perfect for you to come, or there's a free concert down at the ocean, how about you meet me here, I'll send you the information. And they'd be like, yes, okay. This is the kind of thing that's building that connection for you. These are the things that make you superhero connector. And this is the communication skills that I know it may sound like they're very basic in some ways, but guess what? The majority of people don't do them. And if the majority of the people don't do them, guess what? That makes you amazing compared to the world. So the last thing I'm going to share with you, and this is actually from my training with Cornell University in their psychology classes, is that when you acknowledge somebody, so this tip is about acknowledging a team member, or acknowledging a neighbor person, or acknowledging a family member. When you take a moment and somebody says something and other people just kind of gloss over it, but yet you take the time publicly within a group of people and you say, wait a minute, hey, when Jack made that point there, or Jill made this comment, right? What happens is, because you carry the authority to it, and other people are listening to you, even if you don't think they are, believe me, they are, because they know you. So if they know, like, and trust you, they're listening to you. So, but when you say, hey, I would like to hear more about Jack's story. He didn't get to finish telling us about his amazing trip over to Africa. Or when Jill was telling us about the whole relocation thing that just took place and how she led that project, hey, I'd like to hear a little bit more. That's called acknowledge somebody. And when you do the acknowledgement, what you've done for them, according to Cornell University, is you've given them airtime. When you allow someone airtime, let me tell you, you become amazing, because that person doesn't even know how, like, oh my gosh, they're listening to me. They are so amazed that you took the moment to pause them and get other people to listen. So those are some easy 5 tips for you. I wanted to make sure that we got this out there for everybody. And I do appreciate Linda Jordon asking me to share superhero skills with you all. There's so much more that we can share with you. I do recommend highly, of course, if you have not picked up a copy of Collecting True Friends, grab your copy. It's on Amazon. And we can talk about any of the questions that you may have on that. And then also, we always have trainings and workshops that are available. So I'll make sure that my link's in there too. And I'm Elizabeth Duncan-Hawker. You can see my name. And actually, my business is Red Hawk Strategic Solutions. So you can find me on all sorts of social media. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what worked. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And more importantly, I'd love to see and hear how your connecting came together, because that's what needs to happen more right now that we're through the pandemic. Pretty much, we made it through. You want to be one of those people that other people say, you know what, gosh, when she called me, I couldn't believe that she remembered me and she remembered all those details about me. I really want to see him again. I really want to see her again, because all of this is going to feed into, you're going to have long, sustainable friends socially and allies in business. And then all of a sudden, everything's going to come together, and the happiness. And guess what? Remember, we talked at the beginning, you're going to be healthier because you'll never suffer from the loneliness, which is like smoking. Remember, we talked about that. So instead, you're going to have a body filled with happiness and healthiness and good connections and good friends. And you're going to always have people be, oh yeah, I'll take their call. So I'm Elizabeth Duncan-Hawker. It's been a pleasure to help you today. I hope that if we ever get a chance to meet in person, you'll let me know where you're at. And because I travel, so if you do need a speaker, call me up and we can help you with that too. So stay well, stay blessed, and work on connecting. Get those superhero skills going.